This video is going to have a slightly different format due to technological issues. Some of the footage got corrupted, so I'm having to make do with a brief scripted segment. The show must go on.
Read the disclaimer! On the other one, you bastard!
Brought to you by supporters who probably have better taste than this schmuck.
I've made it no secret that I love the recent Cyberverse cartoon. Sure, the toy line has been quite the mixed bag, but the show has provided infinite levels of new ideas and fun factor, a far cry from the adjacent Netflix show. Even the worst season of the bunch, which happened to be the first, still had plenty of emotional moments that resonated with me. One such arc was the rivalry between Bumblebee and Shadowstriker. They really made me crave a proper toy of Shadowstriker, which was ultimately a melancholic feeling since what we actually got was far from the level these characters deserved. Surprisingly though, this wasn't a new idea. It was a great interpretation of an old idea, sure, but the showrunners didn't come up with this concept. It actually began in the most unlikely of places. A release that, in my eyes, holds a lot of nostalgia. So you'll notice right off the bat that the aesthetics between these two are vastly different. You've obviously got a Revenge of the Fallen Legends class figure here, and something that looks very weird in comparison. And there is a reason for this. They made a lot of these packs where they would pair a Revenge of the Fallen Legends with a sort of Generations Legends figure. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at the Bumblebee first. Now, I want to warn you, this is my childhood copy, so there is quite a bit of paint chipping on it all over. Has been a bit worse for wear over the years, but this in general is a really lovely Legends figure. They massively stepped up their game in terms of the figures with the second movie. Gone are the days of random exposed hinges, and gone are the days of weirdly proportioned robot modes as well. They really hit their stride with Revenge of the Fallen, not just in the deluxe lineup, but also in the Legends lineup. Of course, this is a redeco of Bumblebee, so I suppose I'll have to compare it with the original, which I also have my childhood copy of, but it's in much better condition for whatever reason. This is a straight up repaint, not a redeco. They are exactly the same in terms of color layouts. The only slight difference is that this is a slightly richer yellow and this is slightly brighter, but aside from that, everything is exactly the same. Now looking at the front, on the original you had all of this stuff. They've swapped out the light paint for some bottom bumper paint. Honestly, I really dig what they've done here. It's a fantastic aesthetic here. It really makes it look mean. And I thought that as a kid too. Unfortunately, you do lose the tiny lick of yellow paint they had on the Kamara logo, but at a figure this size, who really cares? You look at the stripes and oh my, these are just plain old stripes. These actually give a nice outline and a lovely Autobot symbol. That is magnificent. Unfortunately, one thing you'll notice is the windows don't travel all the way back like they did with the original here, but damn, that shiny metallic window, it looks great. I think these days as an adult, I prefer the dark blue more, but as a kid, I was really into this shit. And at the back, yeah, same deal. Really crazy how they even painted the back windows. That's not something you'd see these days. But yeah, overall, really bloody good car mode either way, but I think I got more nostalgia for this one. Just, that's why he's in a worse condition, because I'd always take him to school and show him to my mates, even if they didn't really care about Transformers. Maybe that's why I had no friends. But there's certainly cool details. They've even molded in the bloody rearview mirrors. Not something they'd have to do, but they did it, and I really appreciate that. And then this gal, Shadowstriker. She looks somewhat familiar, doesn't she? It's almost like we've reviewed the original version of the mold a few episodes ago. Honestly, when I was setting up this lineup, I never intended for this to happen. I was just going to focus on Shadowstriker on her own. But then I realized that Warpath was best reviewed alongside his packmates because they all had a very similar theme going on. And that's when I realized, I guess I can talk about this in relation to its original. Quite fortuitous. So my main issues with the wheelie version, well, particularly the Henkei version here, is that the colors just do not work for this figure. The sculpted detail is fantastic, but it just does not work with these awful colors. Shadowstriker. Oh, mama, this works so well. The red and the black look gorgeous. This thing looks like it came right out of Transformers Prime, and I don't mean that as an insult, I mean that as a compliment. They've got nice red wheels, which gives it a sort of cyberpunk vibe, and they're so great. The red continues onto the windows due to the way the mold is laid out. Oh, wow, it's just so sexy. They've even kept the brake lights back here. Now, that wouldn't be something that's so special on a Takara figure, but this is a Hasbro one. This was released at regular retail, so them including that is great. And of course, you've got the yellow lights here, which actually stand out for once. but damn, it's good. So yeah, this absolutely knocks it out of the park in comparison to the original. I get that it's really easy to make Nemesis versions better than the originals. It's just a nice way aesthetics work, but this especially, this was great. Might just be nostalgia talking, but I honestly think this works way better as Shadowstriker than it does as Wheelie. It just fits the aesthetic way more. And especially now that we've got the far superior Titans Return Wheelie, there's really no reason to get this Henkei version or the original Universe 2008 or Hasbro whatever version. So this one has much more of a reason to exist. But there's another reason why you should get this pack over the original Wheelie or over anything else. Bumblebee and Shadowstriker. Where does that name seem familiar? Well, Cyberverse fans might remember they had a rivalry in that show, and this pack right here is the foundation for that rivalry. Yes, the Cyberverse team referenced a super obscure Revenge of the Fallen 2-pack. Damn, that is a deep cut. That is not something I expected. It really makes me appreciate my childhood Transformers more, knowing that creators have grown up with them as well. Well, not necessarily grown up, but definitely referenced such. Christ, what a great way to recontextualize my old figures. Anyway, let's get some size comparisons happening. Here they are next to a standard Legion figure, a standard Core Class figure, a standard War for Cybertron Micromaster, and Crumbs. Now, I've already gone over Shadowstriker's mold mate, so if you want dimensions and transformation instructions, just go through that. I don't really want to cover things I've already been over for the sake of time. Kinda seems redundant. But as for Bumblebee, he is 7 centimeters by 3.5 centimeters by 2.3 centimeters. Now, his transformation is basically a simplified version of every movie Bumblebee on the planet. Well, aside from some of the more recent ones that incorporate faux parts and such, but this is basically how many of them did it for years and years. It is what it is, and it does it well, I suppose. First thing you want to do is yoink out the legs like so, and sliding rails. Really? I still really dislike these. I don't know why I was okay with them as a kid, but these days I really dislike them. I forgot to mention you got the Cybertronian lettering there that looks great. Yay! But whatever. You bring the arms out on their hinges and the ball joints rotate down. Hood flips on over, which also brings out the wings, very nice touch, and separate the legs, and we're good to go. And in robot modes, yeah, they're both pretty decent robot modes. Granted, one is definitely better than the other, but they're both decent. They both get the job done for what they are, for what they're trying to achieve, and I have to commend them for that. Guess we got to start off with the Bumblebee, and this is a massive glow up from the 07 version. Now, I had and lost the 07 version as a kid, but I do have Cliffjumper, and man, there's a reason I call him Fatty Bee. How obese is this fella? Just, what do they do with this guy? This looks infinitely better. Just wow, what a glow up. Of course, in terms of detail, yes, they've had to simplify the front of the car in order to make everything fit at the scale, but it definitely gets the job done. Granted, they could have made that a faux part and had it fold in and all sorts of stuff. Matter of fact, that's actually what they did with the Camaro Bumblebee from the Bumblebee movie. Of course, they didn't have the wings, but that did use a faux chest. And it did look better, but for the time, they wanted to use a real chest and they got the idea across just fine. I'm not going to pretend the arms are great. They are kind of just door panels with fists on them, but hey, at least you get to use the wheels as a weapon, and the wheels are pinned, which is of course great always. Something we don't really get these days, but it's nice that they had them back in the day. And the way they've done the legs, the way they cut out of the car parts here, that's pretty good, that's pretty clever for the time. Yeah, when you're in vehicle mode, you kind of got them sticking out the back, but it's alright. Now in this mode, the changes aren't as apparent, so we're gonna have to bring in his original. Once you bring in the original, yeah, things become a bit more obvious. For starters, that torso is entirely in black. That's not molding, that's entirely paint. They painted over the entire midriff section just so that it could look better, and I appreciate that. Unfortunately, the black bumper does make it look a bit weirder in this instance. This does look a bit cleaner, but I feel like there's a perfect balance of painted midriff and no bumper would make things marvelous. Of course, the Autobot symbols on opposite sides, that's something to note. And you're missing the weird lick of paint on the head that's on the top there for some reason, don't know why. Also, the Autobot symbol's not on the top there. One thing I really find disappointing is that the eyes look a lot better here because they use the same paint as the windows. I guess it's a minor issue. So overall, better vehicle mode, better robot mode. It's just kind of simple as that. But if you only want one, either will do you. They're both great representations of the character at the size, and they've held up reasonably well over the years. I think if you're just looking for a Legion Legends collection, they'll both do you just fine. Do kind of wish third party would make Movieverse figures in the Legends scale. I know it's kind of difficult, but they could use it with faux parts. It could work. Come on, give it to me! But the real star of the show is easily Shadowstriker. Jesus, she is an absolutely beautiful piece. Again, it's pretty simple. She doesn't have as much paint as her original version, well, as opposed to the Henkei version, but the colors do so much for this mold. I guess you've still got the slingshot molded in there, which I never actually noticed as a kid. In fact, I only noticed it on camera about a couple of hours ago at the rate that I'm filming these. But damn, this is a damn fine figure. Again, bringing the old one, there's just no contest. A fantastic redeco that just absolutely demolishes this. And as a kid, this is the one I really wanted out of the set. I wanted this out of the set more than I wanted the Bumblebee. I put up with the Bumblebee to get this. I saw this as a new figure because I didn't have the original. I kind of missed the end of Universe 2008 because I kind of joined collecting in 2008 just when I saw the first movie on DVD. But I saw this as a new figure, I really wanted it, and I've really loved her for all these years. It's a fantastic deco. Now, same as before, I'm not going to bother with the articulation and the size comparisons of Shadowstriker because she's a redeco of a figure I discussed fairly recently. But as for Bumblebee, you've got ball-jointed arms and ball-jointed legs. That's about it. Don't suppose you need anything more given the time he came out in. Anyway, size-wise, B is 4.5 centimeters long and 7.5 centimeters tall. And for size comparisons, here they are next to a standard Legion figure. Damn, these things really did shrink over the years, as I keep saying, but oh well, it is what it is. A standard core class figure, a standard War for Cybertron Micromaster, and Crumbs. I am so glad I got to talk about these after all this time. They were one of my childhood favorites, something so obscure that not many people talked about them until Cyberverse came out and recontextualized my childhood love. It's great when you're finally able to share the things that made your childhood great, and I'm finally glad I was able to do that for me. Even now I find it pretty funny that I'm reviewing both Wheelie and Shadowstriker in the same season of the marathon. I assure you this was completely unintentional. Regardless, this is a pretty good set to grab. Bumblebee is just okay, being a typical 2009 Legends figure, but Shadowstriker is something truly special. It's honestly the best version of the mold on the market. For a time I thought maybe there was a die-on version of this, but I checked and it looks like a classic case of the Mandela effect. Just the good old G1 version, I guess. But whether this set is good or not isn't the coolest thing. I mean, nostalgia validation is cool and all, but that's not why I wanted to tackle this pack. What amazes me is that I'm not the only one who was taken by this release. The Cyberverse team, or at least a member of it, had the exact same nostalgia I did. There are likely people my age working at Boulder Media, people who were kids when Revenge of the Fallen came out. The fact that someone put their love of this set into the show, it honestly warms my heart. Knowing that I share my love for something with an official Transformers team, it's awesome. Honestly, the Cyberverse team has had their finger on the pulse with this fandom more than any other show the franchise has recently put out. And if you're watching this video, I urge you to check it out. Yes, I know this video kinda got derailed in the end, but f*** you, it's my channel and I can do what I want. But enough of that. Tomorrow we're going back to the previous format. I don't think any of the other files were corrupted, so it should be alright from now on. Tomorrow we jump into the most adorable line in small-scale Transformers history, with some infinitely addicting releases. Until then, catch you later.